Okay, motherfuckers. It's time to fucking let you know how much of a bunch of motherfuckers we all are here. Like, just for history, us old fucks, I want to make it clear the reason Bitcoin was invented was because of what financial interests have done to the idea of what money is, okay? So, back before Bitcoin, there was this group called GATA, and they were out to finger the CFTC and those in charge of the bullion banks for manipulating the price of gold and silver. And for decades, these motherfuckers have been after the London Bullion Metals Association for their fixing of the gold price. And this is something you need to understand, and we'll get to the centralization of things quickly. So look, just try and consume what I'm saying with a grain, with like open ears and eyes and a grain of salt. So last week, this is an article that came out yesterday. Last week, from the news came out from the LBMA that the French bank Societe Generale (SocGen) has resigned as a market maker for gold and silver. Now, in the gold and silver market, up until about 2014, there were like 5 banks that set the price every day of gold and silver, okay? And they were the ones being fingered by GATA. Well, there's another layer that goes into that, which is the market makers, and that's what this article's about. And you need to listen to this so you can be fucking educated and you can get over the idea that fucking privacy and centralization is a good thing. Particularly in this world of crypto, because the version of centralization is being distorted for your fucking jerk-offness, for your pleasure. So anyways, silver continues an exodus from the London, these banks, this bank continues an exodus from the London bullion markets that has included such former heavyweight bullion banks as Barclays, Deutsche Bank, Mitsui, and Credit Suisse. Indeed, SocGen, Deutsche Bank, and Barclays were 3 of 5 members of the infamous gold London fix, which was hurriedly buried by the LBMA in 2015. That was the 5 banks. They buried the London gold fix by those 5 major banks in 2015 because they had been outed as being totally controlling and manipulated. But nobody got punished. There was no news. They just adjusted it for the fucking noise that was coming from the likes of people like me. Which was early buried by the LBMA in 2015. So now an incredible 60% of that gold fixing clique have stepped back from the shadowy world of the London paper gold and the London paper silver markets. Now, when they say paper, that's the price fixing, and that's what you buy when you go buy SLV or GLD in a paper form without holding the physical. I should bust out my coin right now, motherfuckers. Indeed, SocGen, Deutsche Bank, and Barclays were 3. Okay. Another member of that former gold-fixing cartel, Scotia-Moshe, is itself a diminished force following a failed sale and subsequent reorganization under the controlled ownership of Scotiabank. The casualties of the still active London Gold Market Fixing Limited are now looking to sever that the entire former gold-fixing cesspit looks cursed. So severe that the entire former gold fixing cesspit looks cursed. So it is just a matter of time before the 5th member of the infamous syndicate HBSC runs into some type of trouble. The London ghost ship's still out there, but no one on board. Paper market making, screen gold. Distinct from gold and silver price fixes or auction participants, market makers are a special category of London Bullion Market Associate LBA member in the over-the-counter London gold and silver markets that are obliged to, quote, two-way bid and offer gold and silver prices to each other during London trading hours, essentially making the market for paper gold and silver pricing, as well as providing those markets with liquidity. When people talk about London bullion banks, it is usually this group of top-tier investment banks involved in the gold and silver market making that they are referring to. But as well as obligations, these banks are also derive benefit from their market maker roles in the form of informational trade flows, market knowledge, and being eligible for an influential seat on the board of the LBMA. This latest departure of Soc Gen now leaves only 12 LBMA market makers to run the gold and silver trading and pricing cartel in London, one of the lowest number of cartel participants in nearly 5 years. And that number, which also hides significant churning in the composition of the LBMA market, making membership to that list over that time frame. Following Soc Gen's departure, the remaining London Bullion Metals Association market makers, those 12 now that make up the market, now comprise of the following banks, which many readers, many viewers will be familiar with. Citibank, there's the list of 12 people that have the front on what the price of gold and silver will be. Citibank, Goldman Sachs, HBSC, JP Morgan, USB, Morgan Stanley, Bank of Nova Scotia, PNB Paribas, ICBC Standard, Merrill Lynch, Standard Chartered, and Toronto Dominion, TD Bank. Okay, musical chair charade. When Citibank joined the above list back in September of 2014, it's also brought the number of members in the LBMA market making club to 12, but the list at the time was very different than what it was today. The LBMA market makers at that time were Barclays, Deutsche Bank, HBFC, Scotiabank, JP Morgan, USB, Credit Suisse, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, Mitsui Co., Soc Gen, and B of A Merrill Lynch. September of 2014 also the beginning of one of the most rapid expansions in the history of the market maker list. At the same time, one of the busiest periods of departures. In October 2014, Morgan Stanley joined the list, followed by Standard Chartered in February 2015, Toronto Dominion Bank in March of 2015. By March of 2015, there were 15 bullion banks in the LBM market maker list. October of 15 then saw PNB Paribas also join, followed by ICBC Standard in April of 2016, but throughout the same time frame, some of the biggest names, a number of which were embroiled in controversies or investigations, were quietly exiting the London precious metals market. And by early 2017, Barclays Bank, Deutsche Bank, Mitsui, and Credit Suisse were no longer LBMA market makers. In hindsight, the flurry of additions to the gold and silver list, late 2015 to early 16, now looks to have been a case of lining up replacements while keeping the numbers looking constant, in a way throwing up a smokescreen with new market makers additions as to allow the departing banks to quietly slip out the door. For a while, LBMA will always announce additions to its market maker list with fanfare and press release. The LBMA prefers to let departing market makers quietly walk away, hoping no one will notice. And would you blame them? For as early as 2014, Barclays had been fined for gold fixing manipulation. And I fucking put the links down there, I should. Deutsche Bank, you find them for yourself. Do your own research, you dumb motherfucker. Deutsche Bank was under under investigation for multiple regulators for manipulating precious metals. Mitsui was under investigation by Swiss authorities for its precious metals activities, and Credit Suisse was under investigation from the Department of Justice. Barclays and Deutsche Bank had rapidly left the former gold fixing company in 2014, with Deutsche also bowing out of the former silver auction, as both banks running for the exits of London bullion markets and downsized their precious metal schemes. That precipitated the rushed creation by the LBMA of the replacement LBMA silver price and LBMA gold price auctions in mid-2014 and early 2015, respectively, with Mitsui brought in as an initial replacement on the silver auction in 2014. Mitsui then itself bowed out of the LBMA silver price auction in January 16, when it too ran for the exits, in process of dropping out of the market making one. While that may all have been coincidence, the timing and fines and regulatory investigations cannot have been immaterial in the decisions of those banks to pull back from their precious metals trading activities, even if they were part of a broader commodities unit retrenchment. With 5 new banks joining the market-making cartel between 14 and 16, and 4 other banks disappearing by early 17, the resulting market maker tallied of 13, while looking relatively static, still contained many new entrants. All the same, the names will change, which brings us full circle to 2019 and the departure of Soc Gen, bringing the market maker list back to 12. Soc Gen claims that it was walked away from the gold and silver market making in London as part of a broader retrenchment from its commodities business, and they are not the first to have said that, since other banks departing have preciously claimed likewise. But could this defection by Soc Gen be the beginning of a new wave of departures, or more intriguing, be signaling some gathering scandal in the London synthetic precious metals market? While the LBMA market list is still a force to be reckoned with, it still contains some of the biggest names in the investment banking world. Its combined power is less than it used to be, curtailed by penalties, fines, and increased cautiousness brought on by never-ending litigation and bad press. While the game of musical chairs at the fractional reserve LBMA-controlled gold and silver markets are always interesting, and although the names may change, at the end of the day, it's still the same bullion bank cartel, chaperoned by the Bank of England, that controls the London precious metals market. Know this. Know the history. Know why. Know why you believe in Bitcoin. You dumb motherfuckers. The bigger question for gold and silver markets globally and those interested in price discovery, and a question avoided by mainstream financial media and industry bodies alike, is why in the year of 2019, after many precious metal trading scandals, a cartel of 12 investment banks in London, 5 US controlled, 2 Canadian, 1 Swiss, 1 French, and 3 Anglo-Asian, still gets the privilege of settling international gold and silver prices in the shadowy, opaque marketplace. So, you know, how supposedly transparent crypto is. Just imagine if it were all controlled by like 5 entities, and the price was regulated by them, and nothing having to do with your participation. That's what happened, and that's why Bitcoin was invented. And this is what is happening now with real money. Not your fake, can't taste, touch, feel, or smell, or hear, let's fucking scam everybody in the world money that I'm playing with you dumb cunts with. The real shit. The real shit. It's fucking shifting. And Bitcoin's influencing this. And one of the last things I want to say to you is the London, Bank of London, what is it? The Bank of England. The Bank of London, whatever. The Bank of England. The Bank of England that controls all these banks. You know, the people that run that bank, I bet you their first name is probably Benjamin or maybe, I don't know, Michael. But the guy who uploads the code, that whenever Bitcoin gets changed, his first name is Vladimir. Drink that, motherfuckers. I hope you fucking care.